Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah An-Nisaa bihawlillahi wa quwwatih. We are on ayah number 71. قال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا خذوا حذركم فانفروا ثبات أو انفروا جميعا. So he begins with the usual and famous call, O you who believe. He says خذوا, take, حذركم, which means your precautions. So حذر يحذر means to warn someone. So when you warn someone, they will take precautions. So حذر is precautions. So precautions is a broad term. In a battle situation, of course, this primarily means your weapons and all the military technology that is at your disposal, but also military intelligence as well, and just everything you need to combat the enemy and to keep safe. Then he says, فَانْفِرُوا. The fa is for the chronological order. So you take your precautions and then you infiru, which means march out. He says march out. ثُبَاتٍ. This is the plural of ثُبَتٌ with a ta marbuta at the end. A plural is also ثُبِين, which is a jam'u mudhakkar salim. So this means to say march out. Now a thubatun is a group of men above 10. So this means to say then march out in individual groups. The word thubatin has a kasra at the end because it is a hal. Normally a hal is with an alif at the end, but because this is a jam'u mu'annath salim, it is with a kasra, as is well known. And he says, أَوِنْفِرُوا جَمِيعًا, or march out, جَمِيعًا, all together, meaning one whole army with the Prophet. جَمِيعًا also is a hal, so it is mansub bil fatha. So, reflecting on this ayah, firstly we may take the virtue of Iman, as Allah Jalla wa Ala calls us out with the best description possible, which is people of Iman. And the main lesson to take is that you always take your precautions. This is a broad term. In a military sphere, it would include all the military gear that you need. When simply crossing the road, you take your precautions. You stop, you look, and you listen. Even in the ideological war, you take your precautions. You need to know what arguments to put forward and how to refute the deviant arguments that are making the rounds. You need to know the arguments of the enemies and their evidence and how to refute their evidence. So you take your precautions in all things in life. We also learn the obligation of marching out to fight in the way of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and that you can do it in individual groups, that is thubatin or thubin, which is the plural of thubatun, or that you may do it all together as one army. But one might say here, is it not true that in Surah At-Tawbah Allah says, وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَّةً. The believers should not all march out together. We say that there is no contradiction. In Surah At-Tawbah it's saying that all of the Muslims in the city should not go out together. There should remain some people in the city. As for this ayah, it is talking about just those people who march out. They can march out in either individual smaller groups or as one body. So notice the difference. This ayah is talking about just those people who march out, whereas in Surah At-Tawbah it is talking about the whole of the city. So Surah At-Tawbah is saying the whole of the city should not march out. Ayah number 72. وَإِنَّ مِنْكُمْ لَمَنْ لَيُبَطِّئَنَّ فَإِنْ أَصَابَتْكُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالَ قَدْ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيَّ إِذْ لَمْ أَكُنْ مَعَهُمْ شَهِيدًا. He says, وَإِنَّ مِنْكُمْ, and indeed from you, O Muslimin, is the one who لَيُبَطِّئَنَّ, which means لَيَتَأَخَّرَنَّ. They surely stay behind, so they do not march out for the battle. And of course, he's referring to the munafiqeen. They are the ones who do not march out to the battle, and they stay behind. فَإِنْ أَصَابَتْكُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ, then if a musibah, a calamity afflicts you, asaba, to afflict someone, qala, he says, meaning the munafiq says, that Allah has an'ama, bestowed his favor upon me, إِذْ لَمْ أَكُنْ مَعَهُمْ شَهِيدًا, as I was not a witness amongst them. Meaning to say, when the calamity in a war afflicts the Muslimin, the munafiq will say that Allah has favored me in that He saved me from this calamity. And number 73, وَلَئِنْ أَصَابَكُمْ فَضْلٌ مِّنْ اللَّهِ لَيَقُولَنَّ كَأَنْ لَمْ تَكُنْ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُ مَوَدَّةٌ يَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ مَعَهُمْ فَأَفُوزَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. He says, and if there comes to you a fadl, which means a bounty or a grace from Allah, this refers to victory in the battlefield and what follows from the ghanima. لَيَقُولَنَّ, he will surely say. The noon shadda at the end is for emphasizing the word. He will surely say. Notice the harf wala'in, the waw is harf atf, so it follows from what has preceded. The lam, wala'in, is denoting an oath, as in to say wallahi, and in means if. It's a harf of shart, a condition. So he will surely say, ka'an lam, as if, takun, as if there was not, bainakum wa bainahu, between you people, meaning Muslims, and him as in the munafiq, mawaddatun, love. So as if there was no love between you and him. So what this means to say is that when he misses out on the war booty, then he pretends that he's not even from your deen, that he is just some foreigner, and that there was no love between you and him. So what this part of the ayah means is that this munafiq yearns to be with the Muslimin when they win the war and they attain the ghanima. But the munafiq does not actually love the Muslims, as is quite obvious. The munafiq only loves the ghanima. So when he yearns to be with you, the Muslimin who win the battle, this yearning is not because of his love for the Muslimin, but rather because of his love for the ghanima. So Allah Jalla wa Ala is telling us here that when he yearns to be with you, it shows outwardly and openly on the munafiqeen that his love is for the ghanima and his love is not for you, the Muslimin. And this is why he says, كَأَن لَمْ تَكُنْ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُ مَوَدَّةٌ, as if there is no love between you and him. And that is because there is no love between you and him. His love is only for the ghanima, which is why he is yearning to be with you. So he says, Ya laytani. The ya is a harfu tanbih, a letter to draw attention, like in the old-fashioned English, alas or lo. Here it is not likely to be the harfun nida when you call someone out, because this man is not calling anyone out. Ya laytani, later is not a fi'l, a verb. It resembles a fi'l, but it is a harf, a proposition. It is a harf of tamanni. It denotes yearning for something. As for the ni, they say the noon is wiqaya and the ya is ya al-mutakallim, so that you do not say layti, but rather it is laytani. The noon comes with the ya al-mutakallim. He says, oh, would that I were with them meaning the Muslimin, fa'afuza. It would normally have read fa'an afuza, but the an is implied. Fa'afuza fawzan azima, a great victory, referring to the ghanima. Now notice a subtle point here. When Allah Jalla wa Ala speaks about a calamity, he says, when a calamity befalls you. But when he speaks about the victory for the Muslimin, he links the victory to himself. Fadlun min Allah, a grace from Allah. Yet he does not say a calamity from Allah. And what is well known is that both grace and calamity is all from Allah. But he does not link the calamity to himself because he does not link negative things to himself. And we find other examples like this in the Quran as well, such as in Surah Ash-Shu'ara, Ibrahim a.s. saying, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ. When I am ill, then he is the one who heals me. Also in Surah Al-Jinn, وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي أَشَّرٌ أُرِيدَ بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَمْ أَرَادَ بِهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ رَشَدًا. We do not know if evil is intended for the one on earth or whether their Rabb wants to guide them. So you see, the Rabb is mentioned in the positive context but not the negative context, even though everything positive and negative is from the qadr of Allah Jalla wa Ala. But this is from the etiquettes that even the jinn had with Allah Jalla wa Ala, is that they did not link any negativity to Allah. We also find this concept in Surah Al-Kahf, ayah number 79 and onwards, with the story of Khadir justifying why he did what he did. Notice this subtle point. أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر فأردت أن أعيبها وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة غصبا. He says, I wanted to make it defective. So the defective part, he links it to himself. Then the next ayah, وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامُ فَكَانَ أَبَوَاهُ مُؤْمِنَيْنِ فَخَشِينَا أَنْ يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. He says, we feared that this boy is going to lead his parents into rebellion and disbelief, so that essentially he will convert them to kufr. Then the next ayah 81, he says, فَأَرَدْنَا أَنْ يُبْدِلَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا خَيْرًا مِنْهُ زَكَاةً وَأَقْرَبَ رُحْمًا. So we wanted that their Rabb, meaning the parent Rabb, Allah Jalla wa Ala of course, to change this boy for a better one in righteousness and nearer to mercy. So look at the positive thing is linked to their Rabb. And he goes on, ayah 82, وَأَمَّا الْجِدَارُ فَكَانَ لِغُلَامَيْنِ يَتِيمَيْنِ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ وَكَانَ تَحْتَهُ كَنْزٌ لَهُمَا وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ أَنْ يَبْلُغَا أَشُدَّهُمَا وَيَسْتَخْرِجَا كَنْزَهُمَا رَحْمَةً مِنْ رَبِّكَ وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي ذَلِكَ تَأْوِيلُ مَا لَمْ تَسْطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. He's speaking about the wall, and he says that your Rabb wanted that they should attain adulthood and extract their wealth from under the wall. So you see this concept of linking the positive things to Allah Jalla wa Ala. And this is from the etiquettes that one observes with one's Lord. So reflecting on these two ayatan, we find the dangers of being lazy in righteous deeds. Because you see how the munafiqun, they hold back on marching out. Similarly, if we hold back on hastening to doing righteous deeds, then this will be a cause for our misguidance and being turned away from righteousness and from gaining the higher status with Allah Jalla wa Ala. We also find that those of the Muslimin who do not wish to fight in the way of Allah when all the conditions are met, then they, at the very minimum, have one of the qualities of the munafiqeen. So that is to say, they have a resemblance to the munafiqeen. And just that alone is a rebuke-worthy quality. We also find that the munafiqun, they only love the ghanima, the dunyawi matters. They do not have any love for the Muslimin, that is the brotherhood love. So this tells you the state of their heart, just simply infatuated by the ephemeral, materialistic delights of this world. Ayah number 74. فَلْيُقَاتِلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يَشْرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا بِالْآخِرَةِ وَمَنْ يُقَاتِلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَيُقْتَلْ أَوْ يَغْلِبْ فَسَوْفَ نُؤْتِيهِ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. In this ayah, Allah Jalla wa Ala gives the order فَلْيُقَاتِلْ. It means then let him fight. Okay, but who is the him? The him being referred to is the munafiq, whom the previous ayat was speaking about. Let such a person fight fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah. The lam is the lam al-amr. It makes the fi'l mudari into an order form. Let him fight. The fa is the harf isti'naf. It begins the new sentence. Let him fight whom? those people who yashruna. Normally yashruna means to sell, but here it means yashtaruna, to purchase. Those people who purchase, what do they purchase? Al-hayat ad-dunya, the life of this world. Ad-dunya meaning nearer or lower. So the lower life or the nearer life, which is the life of this world. Ad-dunya is the feminine of adna, which means nearer or lower. They purchase the life of this world bil akhirah, for the hereafter. In other words, they take this life of the world and they sell out the life of the akhirah. So they prefer this life over the life after death. So this ayah is saying that this munafiq, what is upon him is to have ikhlas to Allah Jalla wa Ala and to fight in the way of Allah. This is what is upon this munafiq if he wants to mend his ways. However, the ayah could be understood in completely the opposite way, and that yashruna means to sell. So if that's the case, then this means those who sell this life for the hereafter. And that's a good thing, because that means they're aiming for the hereafter and not aiming for this life. But then the ayah would mean that let those who sell this life for the hereafter fight in the way of Allah. So then in that case the ayah would not be referring to the munafiq which the previous two ayat were referring to. And both tafasir are correct. And the ayah says, وَمَنْ يُقَاتِلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, whoever fights in the way of Allah. This is a shart. So يُقَاتِل is majzoom بالسكون because of the fi'l shart. فَيُقْتَل, and then he is killed, that is as a shaheed. أَوْ يَغْلِبْ, or he overcomes, meaning he overcomes his enemy and wins. So either way, he says, we will bestow upon him a great reward. Okay, so reflecting on this ayah, we find the obligation of jihad fi sabilillah, and this is if the conditions are met, because the order form is issued. We also find that fighting needs to be in the way of Allah, so that you do it with ikhlas. You're not fighting for the ghanima, or to show off, or to enhance your reputation. No, rather, you're doing it to raise the word of Allah Jalla wa Ala above the word of kufr. We also find from the traits of the kuffar is that they love this world and they will sell out the akhirah to gain this world. And this is something that we can witness nowadays. We also learn that the mujahid is always successful. Even if he is killed in the battlefield, he will be successful. And if he wins in the battlefield, then that is obvious dunyawi success. But his reward in the hereafter is secured. هذا والله أعلم.